Hello, welcome to the Collaborative Negotiator channel. This is not going to be one of my usual videos where I'm talking about a particular topic and obviously drawing lessons about negotiation. I thought I'd just talk about the channel itself in this video. Now this is quite a young channel. I've only been operating it for about a year, maybe a year and a half now, can't quite remember. And there have been a few new people that have joined, which is fantastic to see. And I don't tend to explain very much about myself, what I do, or this channel. So I thought as we're coming up to Christmas, we're coming up to the end of the year, now would be a good time to have a little bit of a chat about this channel, explain some of my thinking, some of what's gone on, and also open it up to comments. I do invite views from those who watch these videos and subscribe to the channel. And I am sure you'll have all sorts of commentary and interesting insight, and I've also found the feedback to be extremely helpful. So I am very much welcoming of any good suggestions that people want to make. So I thought I would take this opportunity to do this sort of video where I invited commentary and explained a little bit more about what I think is going to be the future direction of this channel. So as I said, this channel has been running for just over a year. And when I first had the idea of setting this up and doing these videos, my thinking at the time was essentially to do negotiation training videos to teach people how to negotiate. Now that's evolved a little bit and I will circle back to that point. But what people will no doubt have noticed is that I never do video, I don't show myself, I don't identify myself particularly, and so on and so forth. Now I'm afraid that is deliberate. Not that you're missing much, I mean, my ugly mug is not going to set the world alight. But the reason for that is I work full time. I am a professional negotiator. I manage a team of negotiators. I'm a senior individual in my organisation. I am their lead negotiator actually. And I'm pretty decent. I like to think of myself as a decent negotiator. I've even recently won a small award for some negotiations I have done. Unfortunately, with that comes professional obligations. So that means I cannot talk much about myself, who I am, what I do, or even some other more specialist subject matters. And I'm a specialist in what I do. And this is a shame because I think it would be very interesting. I think people would be interested to hear the story of how I became a negotiator, some of the things that drive that, and some of the things I've learned and how that has shaped me. Unfortunately, I cannot do that at this time. But who knows, if in the future I ever quit my job and do something different, then obviously circumstances would change and I'd be able to talk about myself more. But in the meantime, I do a lot of daily negotiation. I manage a significant portfolio, projects and programs, quite hefty sums of money involved. So for me, I'm very familiar with operating at the high spectrum end of negotiation, if you like. One of the things I also do is I teach how to negotiate across the organisation, across various different teams. And decent as I think I am as a negotiator, I know I am even better as a teacher. But I don't get to do much of that, and that is due to the daily demand, which is exceedingly high in terms of workload. So part of what I wanted to do in this channel was scratch that teaching itch, as it were, and to share my knowledge, experience with people, and help encourage people to develop their skills, because I enjoy that. I enjoy being able to help people understand the negotiation, feel very much part of it, share their experiences and learn. And that is a part of the job I don't do enough and that I enjoy doing, and I would like to do more of it. And again, this is something I would talk a bit more about further down in the video. But the important point I wanted to get here is that this channel is basically me trying to think of good ways of sharing my knowledge with people who I think have an interest in the subject matter, and to try and find ways of making myself better as a teacher. And I'll circle a bit more back onto that point. So when I first started up this channel, this was all about trying to teach people negotiation. And it works fine in a professional context, perhaps in a classroom and so on. But I soon realised that it wasn't particularly riveting stuff. It wasn't very necessarily entertaining or interesting material that translated well onto YouTube. So things have evolved a little bit. And so what I found myself doing was trying to talk more about contentious or interesting topics of the day, and then to fold in some of the negotiation learning, negotiation skills or experiences that can be drawn from that, from looking at those examples. So obviously I will pick whichever event or situation that takes my fancy. More often than not, this will be politics, and since I'm in the UK, that more often than not will be UK politics, although I do try and look a little bit more widely whenever I can, just to mix things up a little bit. So in that context, this channel has changed how I do things. I'm hoping the presentation slides are used a little bit better, certainly better than when I first started. They're a little bit shaky. I don't unfortunately put in much in the way of pictures or videos or so on. I have tried to do that a little bit. That didn't quite work out so well. I might try again in the future. But one of the drivers behind how I operate this channel is because I'm so busy at work, doing this I have to take the minimum amount of time possible, in all honesty. I can't create really good videos and take lots of time editing them. I simply have too much work, I'm simply too tired, there's not enough time for me to do that. That unfortunately is the reality of the demands of my job. But a presentation, just using PowerPoint and turning it into a video, is quite easy and quick to do. And one of the things that I do that also makes it really quick is I try to do things in one take. Now that is not just me being lazy, that's also me trying to improve myself. So by doing that, I am trying to force myself to improvise a bit better when trying to teach or react to things. That's not necessarily one of my strengths, being able to improvise to events, and that's something I wanted to improve upon. So in part, I create these videos in a way that makes it difficult for me to do it well. I put additional pressure on myself, and I think it's working. I think I am improving how I do things, how I shape my thought, and how I communicate it. I have made one slight small change recently where I think has improved things as well, which is that in between slides I do take a quick pause. It's still all done in one take and as fast as possible, but what I will do is just quickly pause the recording session, have a quick drink of water, quickly remind myself of what it is I want to say in that particular slide, and then crack on. So I've started doing that, and I think that has improved things a little bit as well, so I will keep that going. In terms of other things that I could do with this channel, I think it's going to keep the way it is for now. I think I do need to look at more topics, a bit more widely. I don't want to be just talking about UK politics all the time. But I do think people will find me talking about current events and putting the negotiation spin on it to be interesting. So I welcome people's thoughts on that, on the subject matter, whether they find that interesting, whether they think I take too long even, or whether not long enough. So this is all open to people's opinion. And I welcome any suggestions on what people think I can do to improve the format a little bit. But I do caution that you have to remember that I do work full time. So I've got to do this in a way that doesn't create too much work for me. Maybe things might calm down a little bit next year. And if that happens, then maybe I can take a little bit more time to try and do better videos. That is something I would like to do. I would like to try and pick a really deep topic and do a really good deep dive into it, really get the full range of knowledge and experience out there for people to consider, provoke some thought and discussion. So I will try and find those opportunities, but I cannot at this time promise that. But in the meantime, what I will try and do is keep the channel as it's going and incrementally, bit by bit, improve a little bit of how I do things, how I put videos together, and some of the topics that I cover. Now, I don't think it's going to come as any surprise to anyone that talking about negotiation and negotiation skills on YouTube is not exactly a get-rich-quick scheme. However, monetization is perhaps a bit of a contentious topic on YouTube, so I thought I would address that so that people understand where I'm coming from, and of course I welcome people's views. So I am not running this channel to make money. That is not the goal. That is not to say I would never monetize the channel. It's just not a plan. That's happening right now. I'm not in any kind of rush in that regard. So it's saying, of course, you've got to be in the space to monetize, and I am not. I don't have that many subscribers to monetize, and to be honest, I'm quite happy with that. I'm very happy with having, a smallish number of people who are really interested in the topic, who really like to discuss it and make some really helpful and insightful comments and suggestions. So that I really enjoy, and I think if I was pushing for monetization, or to try and get the subscriber numbers up as quickly as possible to achieve that, I feel I'd kind of slightly lose that. The emphasis of the channel would be different, and how people interact with it would probably be different as well. So the message here is that I'm not looking to monetize, I'm not in any rush, but I'm not ruling anything out in the future. And I do welcome people's comments on that, if they think that they're happy with that, or if they think I should be looking at more options. But for me, I have a full-time job. It does pay me a wage, and it would be an awful lot of effort to get YouTube even close to matching that salary. That is not effort I am determined to make at this point in time. There's other things that I need to do, not least, of course, actually the day job. But for me, I think I like the channel to evolve organically. I like the people to be happy with it and to feel that it is insightful and helpful to them. That to me, I think, is far more important than trying to get money out of it. So in terms of the future things that I will be doing, I don't have any specific plan to change the format of the channel. There's a couple of things I'd like to do. I'd like to sort of put videos in there with fun things and then comment on that, particularly negotiation type scenarios. But we'll see on that. Outside of this channel and outside of the day job, but being the secret sneaky squirrel I am, I won't be talking too much about that. What I am trying to do is I am trying to write my own book on negotiation. And I'm doing this pretty much for bragging rights, really. I want to be able to say that I literally wrote the book on negotiation. And I think the book that I am writing, which I'm halfway through at this point in time, I think is a very different way of explaining negotiation to what you would normally find in any sort of online or paper bookshop, as it were, or even on training courses. It's based a lot on what I've learned and how I approach business, which is quite unique. And certainly what is helping to drive how I write that book is what has been very successful when I teach negotiation in the classroom. My course, whenever the rare occasions I get to run it for my organisation, is exceedingly popular. The demand for it is very high. So I know people like that. I know people find that extremely helpful. And that is not necessarily a format that translates well to YouTube videos. So I wanted to write that book, just to do a real deep guide into how to be a good negotiator and to cover a whole range of topics. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about that on this channel going forward. If I ever get to publish it, of course, I will talk about that. I'll even post a link so anyone who's interested can buy it if they so wish. But I'm not going to be heavily promoting it. What I might do, however, that maybe people would be interested in, and so of course I invite comments on that. That I might take specific chapters out of that book that I think are specifically interesting and see if I can't turn those into videos in their own right. Some of the topics I am developing are a bit unusual in a negotiation setting, and I think people might well be interested in them. And I might try my usual format of finding some kind of particular event or scenario that best links to. So that is something I might do in the future that's related to the book. Other even more distant plan that I think I should explore, but I haven't done so much yet, is whether to set up some kind of online training course for those who really want to understand how to conduct negotiations well. So that is something I've not yet looked at into any detail, and that again is something I may think about doing in the future. I think what that means for the channel though, I think it'll be a better separation. I think that would mean that I would have an online course that I can direct people to if they really wanted to improve their skills. And for those who just want to have a fun conversation, fun chat about events in a negotiation setting, say rude things about politicians, the YouTube channel will continue to do that. I think that will continue to be more interesting to people. So that is my thinking at this particular point on what the future holds and how that might affect what happens on this channel. And I do welcome views from the regulars on here and what they think of all those plans, whether that is of interest to them, or whether carry on as I am and they're not too fussed about any of that other stuff. And so finally, but certainly not least, I wanted to wish everyone a very happy Christmas, festive season, wherever they are in the world, whatever it is they do. This has been probably a difficult year for many. Lots has been happening. It's not necessarily all looking positive, but I do hope that people do have positive things happen in their lives, that they are able to take a much needed break, sit down with family and friends, have some nice food and have a rest. And it's important to do that, and this is the best time of the year to really schedule that in, I hope, obviously depending on what work you do. So that is to wish everyone a happy Christmas, and also to thank everybody who do follow these videos, who do subscribe, who do comment. I like how people have interacted with this channel. There's been some interesting people, but even that has been quite insightful, and I've enjoyed those interactions on the whole. There's a few silly people on there, as there always are, but that hasn't in any way, shape or form been overwhelming. And I think, to me, that's a bit of an indicator that those who do subscribe to this channel are, decent, thoughtful people who are very engaged in the topic, perhaps have their own views, don't necessarily agree with me, but certainly are willing to listen, are willing to form their own views and to absorb as much information as evidence as possible to help them to do that. So with that, in that context, I wanted to say a big massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed, who does listen, and I hope things all go well for you. I hope next year is a better year for many. I suspect it may be still difficult, and I hope everyone has a great Christmas and comes back in the new year recharged, energized, and willing to see what the new year will bring. So, wish you a very festive season, and with my sincere thanks, and we'll see you in the new year.